Time to the Southland for Sunday, August 23rd. Gentlemen, it is week zero, and we are back with our weekly numbers and words. My name is Akshay Easwaran, and joining me from the beautiful city of Atlanta, Georgia, are Jack Purdy and Jake Grant, and football writer, expert, and site manager emeritus Joey Weaver also joins us today. Joey, how are you doing? How's the family? What's happening?
Fellas, doing well. Good to see everybody. Good to be back. Always fun getting a chance to do this and see everyone. I know it's football season when we get a chance to get together here. So doing well. Been a busy summer, but all good. Ready to get into it. You say it's the week zero coming up. I'm like, I was doing a preview the other day for the show, and this snuck up on me. Like we're just a few days away here.
There's FCS games on Thursday. Like,
D2 started last week, by the way.
yeah.
And as recently as Friday, I was like, how am I supposed to feel about this football season? And then we peering behind the curtain, some of us Atlanta-based FTRS people met up. And I was like leaving that and I was like, wait, that means the year's coming. And then I was like, wait, the football preview's on Sunday. I got to have some opinions fast. So we've really accelerated and condensed a 36 hours of figuring out how I feel about what we're about to talk about, at least in my book. So
True Georgia Tech test prep strategies is what I'm hearing.
I got out.
Hey, it worked. It worked once. Why can't it work again? Everyone's right. The 2026 football season for the FBS starts this week. I believe the first game is in Ireland with North Carolina and TCU facing off. I'm sure that will be a barn burner in more ways than one, and we'll see if Bill Belichick survives the weekend. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Georgia Tech football, which starts its season on September 3rd versus Colorado. Preseason rankings have Georgia Tech at 42nd in the AP, 42nd also in SP plus, 35th in coaches poll, and 44th in our friends at pairs rankings. Jack, do you want to start with the TLDR on 2025?
TLDR, we went 8-0. We were having a grand old time. We beat Clemson on a walk-off fire drill field goal, which made everyone go crazy, and all the field goal posts went in the president's pool. It was great. Won some road games, kind of just barely, and then North Carolina State and Boston College and Pitt and everyone else we played afterwards just found ways to absolutely just demolish us on defense. The Georgia game was only a one-score loss. That game was weird. Kelly Quinlan mentioned in our episode a couple weeks back that they were probably that Gunner was probably concussed in that game, hence why they were just missing throws all over the place in that game. So probably a tighter game than it should have been. But started 8-0, finished 1-4, had a chance to win the Pop-Tarts Bowl after going up in the first half with a game-winning drive, and Haynes King just a couple plays that just didn't go our way. One pass that went through a receiver's hands, and there was the end of that era. So we are officially we're in the second era of Haynes's. Jamal Haynes and Haynes King are gone, but now we got Justice Haynes and Evan Haynes is still around. So it's, and a lot of new coordinators, a lot of whole new stuff that we're going to cover here today. So I'm excited to be in what feels like a very stable period in Georgia Tech football when it comes to purposely built football teams. I'll put it that way.
Identity driven football teams, maybe, I think is also a good way to put it. Joey, when you look back on that 2025 season, what sticks out to you? Like, if you describe that season in one word, what would you use?
The word I keep going back to, and I was using it a little bit even last year, was culmination. And the reason I go to that word is that I felt like last year kind of served as the end of what I would consider Act One for Brent Key as head coach at Georgia Tech. You look at the consistency of some of the key personnel, especially on the offensive side of the ball through the first 3 years that he's been on the flats. Obviously Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, Malik Rutherford, guys like, Keelan Rutledge has been around for a couple of years. Some of the guys on the defense, Buster Faulkner obviously was a piece of that. And so it felt like we were all building towards this year where, you're going to have a few guys that run out of eligibility. We all kind of knew before the season, maybe Buster Faulkner moves on, like all this stuff. So they had this good year. It was going really well. There was definitely an element as we were going through the middle part of the season of like, okay, they haven't lost yet, but boy, have they gotten close. And there was a little bit of a sketchiness around the Wake Forest win, and like was that a small little ref call was kind of a difference there, and the Duke win, that game didn't start off well, and then turnovers kind of went your way, and all that, and so I don't know. It definitely, when you lose 4 of your final 5 games of the season, it kind of leaves a not so great taste in your mouth. But I mean, I think at the very least, there were some bright moments, as mentioned, and it was a good culmination kind of year. But I'm excited to see what happens here as we start what I would consider Act 2 starting this year, and kind of see where Brent Key in this program go from here.
Jake, one word to describe 2025 for you.
Fizzle. On the spot, I was not expecting that question, but yeah. You said one word. Do you want me to say more words now?
Do you want to color in those
I'm mad at sticking to that script, right?
If you're not supposed to say more words, I really screwed it up. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
We are the kings of using more words than required here. Let's be clear.
Why use few words when many words do trick?
Exactly.
And that's how you get your podcast license. Anyways, no. I realize this the most, Joey, when we have you on, how much of my perception of Georgia Tech, I wouldn't say is shaped, but is validated by my hearing your opinions and your well-informed insight on this team. Because, like, it's stuff that Jack and Akshay and I have talked about online and offline. It's stuff that I know that you and Mike and producer Scott talk about at basketball conference. And obviously you talk about plenty much more over there, much as we talk about, women's volleyball over here. But like the highlight is it's a great start. No one's going to turn their nose up at 8-0, but there were a lot of things that papered over. The Colorado game, I was flying up to Philly for Labor Day, that game. And I think I landed 10 minutes after the game kicked off, and we had already turned the ball over twice.
Yep.
Like that was great that they came back, and great to win. Wake Forest was that times about 10 in terms of the old anxiety meter. Like the team was fun. I don't think we should turn up our nose at fun and being ranked and getting eyes on Georgia Tech. There's a lot of positive attention on this team, and like the things that you're saying in terms of Act 2 of Brent Key starting and Akshay and Jack talking about like a purpose-built team and things like that. Like those are all very real. But also people are talking about it in a way that a kind of 40s-ish, 30s to 40s ranked Georgia Tech team is being talked about. Maybe in the same breath as teams that are higher regarded than us and a talent point of view, because Brent Key did a pretty darn good job on the last go around, and I would say that's despite some very obvious flaws on defense in particular last year, where just being able to say we have some talented skill players, talented offensive players, don't want to say skill, and Haynes King, who will quite literally run through brick walls to try and will a way to win. I think papered over that a lot. So I know I joked about this, like having 36 hours to have feelings about this Georgia Tech team. I only know one thing to be true about this Georgia Tech team, and that's that the running backs room is going to be excellent. There's just too much talent for them not to be, and everything else is something that is going to have to grow as the year goes on if they want to not be a 6-6, 7-5 team and have a team that's, dare I say, has the higher upper end to be better than last year's was. If God sees offense translates to the college game, I think that's a huge high ceiling type of opportunity. If the defense takes even a slight step forward, and obviously they've taken steps forward from as bad as they could be, but if they take a step forward and we see some things different with different thoughts in the room there, I say the ceiling's pretty darn high. But yeah, 2025 was a fizzle, and I think that contributes to my confusion. So there, now you got 5 minutes instead of one word. So that better?
Yeah, I think for me, the thing I think about a lot is if you offer about last year specifically, if you offered me 9-4 before the season, I think I would have taken it without question, right? But post hoc, when you see how they got to 9-4, fizzle is really accurate, right?
Yep.
You really sort of, I mean, it's an Icarus situation. You really flew really close to the sun in every single game, played the highest volatility sort of game in every one of those 8 games, maybe with the exception of, I think, like Syracuse and VT, and even VT to an extent. And then the rest of the season is just sort of a blur of disappointment. Um, and that's frustrating. But again, like nine, and if you strip away the sequencing, it's like 9 and 4 you take, right? It is that culmination of what is Act One, to Joey's point, and now how do you retool and really rebuild the given all of these departures across staff and key players and I don't know, just vibes, honestly. The vibe of Haynes King, not to go full like non-analytics, but just like the way that Brent Key and Haynes King set the tone of this team in the media as gritty and hard nosed. And to Jake, like you said, like finding a way to win, like going through a brick wall, right? That is now that guy's in the NFL. This guy has had to put together an entirely new offensive staff. How do those things play together? And you have your hand up, so I want to go back to you here.
Yes, and I want to say, because just we keep saying 9 and 4, 9 and 4, 9 and 4. Honestly, if you'd have been, hey Jake, what was the record last year? Blind, I had forgotten. I probably would have said 8 and 5 just based off of my vibes, which I think is maybe maybe I'm a bad podcast host, but also maybe the end of the season having a higher weight. But then I started thinking about that a little more, and I want to ask, when you think about individual results that were close, do you find yourself more thinking, God, if only he caught that ball in the end zone against BYU, that would have been the 10th win? Or do you find yourself more thinking, oh, we skated by against Wake Forest because of X, Y, and Z? Because I find that the more I look back on it, the more I go, we were that close to having A, B, and C, and getting that extra win. Whereas those losses are like, oh, yeah, of course we won those. We have the grit and the determination and the vibes. And I don't know if that's a statement on me or a statement on the kind of, I don't know, faith program and vibes that I have in, I guess, Haynes King and Brett Key and the gang.
High volatility football, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that the whole team, like it was positive, but it was chaotic. Right? The starting like 4 games in a row with first drive turnovers, like
Yeah.
extremely chaotic. I
Yeah.
think to answer your question, I go back to the missed opportunity. Like I don't see necessarily the 9 wins. I keep seeing the missed opportunity, right? Having been at that pit game and that watching 28 points scored unanswered, and then having to like getting back into that game multiple times. To their credit, clawing back into that game multiple times only to throw backbreaking pick sixes. Like I think that's what I like. That's the indelible memory, right? Not
Yeah.
necessarily 8-0 and number 7 in the nation, which is great, but the indelible memory is 42-28 versus Pittsburgh on Senior Day for me, and that stinks. Like, yes, I'm a pessimist. I'm a cynic. Like, I think being the data person makes that very clear. But like, it just it stinks that that is the memory and not the 8-0. We were number 7. Everything was going right, and then it all fell apart. Right?
Yeah. I think it's worth remembering we knew that the schedule was the one to do something like this. And
Exactly.
we didn't exactly fail in that regard. Like, yes, it feels like we failed, but we knew if we didn't get like 8 was finally like kind of an attainable goal for once. 7 was an attainable goal for once, and we just raced our way there before the schedule got harder. And we knew we weren't going to go to a perfect season. That was never in the cards, but uh, like on the whole, we still did the thing that like we had to see from the roster and the schedule we had. Joey, I feel like we talked about that before the year too. It's just like we just kept. I remember, I think it was on your pod. We just kept mapping out the games. Like, oh, hold on. There's something here that like we could make a dent if something if they let us.
Yeah.
And it's more that we didn't let us. It felt like when it was all said and done.
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten to a point in college football where we have to quantify not only how good are you, but also like what have you done? Because what's your record and how good are you have never been more disconnected with the way that the schedules are drawn up these
Right.
years,
Yep.
and like in conference, like the disparity in who you're playing is wide. To answer Jake's question, I cannot be intellectually honest about this if I say, I remember how close we were in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, because genuinely, I think it was when I was listening to you all talking to Kelly there a couple of weeks ago, and somebody mentioned the near miss there at the very end of the game. I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that in months. I forgot about that. Like I could have kind of told you the story of the game a little bit. That they got up to a multi-score lead, I think, and then it slowly bled away, and you lose at the end. It had not occurred to me at all that how close they had been, for whatever reason. But yeah, as mentioned, I mean, again, a lot of the narrative through the middle part of the season, I remember exactly how close, you were to getting offsides called that would have given Wake Forest a first down. They could have knelt the clock out and won the game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the goal line stands you had against Duke and against Wake Forest in those games that you kind of almost stole in a way. I remember Haynes King, running the ball in with a minute and 15 left against Colorado or something, and what had otherwise been a tie game where a lot of stuff had gone wrong, so that's more the way I keep thinking about it. And again, maybe that's the pessimist in me or whatever it is, but I just, it felt like we were kind of, like to Akshay's point, a little bit of an Icarus situation where we're flying a little bit too close to the sun. And then all at one time, it seemed like the bill came due in Raleigh.
Yeah. That Jesus, we don't need to rehash that game again, but yeah, it was an interesting night to say the least out in Raleigh.
I think this is a great time to just talk about that the end of that phase one, right? Talk about the departures heading into 2026. We talked about Haynes King, we talked about Jamal Haynes, but along with them, JJ Vandenberg, Keelan Rutledge, who was a first round draft pick, did not expect that one. Eric Rivers, Malik Rutherford, Amari Harvey, Jai Gilmore, Clayton Powley, Omar Daniels, and Rodney Shelley. And that's just draftees and UDFAs. And then if you add transfers in some form or fashion, Florida took the entire Georgia Tech offense that was slated for 2026 between Buster Faulkner, Aaron Philo, and then if you count, depending on how you count Eric Singleton, he also ended up at Florida. So, Joey, as the man that has the most experience in terms of Georgia Tech fandom of the lot of us, what do you make of this transition and how, honestly, how some of these departures are going to affect this squad?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, you mentioned the crew going to Florida. I had a tweet early in the offseason that I thought this was really a little bit odd, because we've seen it before where an offensive coordinator gets hired from one place to another and they try to bring their quarterback, they bring their receivers, you try to transplant some of the existing offense onto the new place to speed up the transition and all that. And that's what Buster Faulkner did, except it was all like the backups. Like it was your backup quarterback, it was your backup slot receiver, your backup tight end, like backup this, backup that, backup the other thing. And it was like, okay, so these guys weren't getting on the field at Georgia Tech, but they're going to really make some hay in the SEC, I'm sure, right? Like, just a little bit odd to me that's the route that we went. And I wonder if there's something else that might have gone on behind the scenes there. Plenty of room for speculation. I won't take your time up with that today. But I look at all the other names, and again, I mean, a couple of them were relatively kind of short-term guys in the program. Eric Rivers was like a one-and-done kind of guy. I don't know that Jai Gilmore was here for very long, but I mean, most of these guys, it was multi-year starters, if not, all 3 years under the full-time Brent Key staff so far. And so not only, I mean, you talk about Haynes King, obviously we all love him. We know the track record in the state and the stats and so forth, but like, does anyone else remember the article that came out maybe like a month or so into last season that was like Haynes King's like a folk hero, basically, like, just all the stories from him growing up. And I mean, just
that ESPN article was one of the coolest things ever written about a Tech alum, possibly ever at this point.
I do want to say though that ESPN article came out if I remember correctly, the literal day before the NC State game, and I have never felt so much anxiety reading an article in my life.
That's
Can I steer us into a ditch with a little bit more of a philosophical question, or should I wait on that, Jack? I think it's relevant.
Okay, if it's relevant, go.
I think this is a lot of talk on like last year's team and like big picture in a vague sense. Do we feel that way because we don't know how to feel about this upcoming team simply because there are that many new faces, and I think coaches are there
great question.
as well? Because I felt this way kind of going into last year too. And I don't know. I remember doing previews in 2017, 2018, and being like, I know this Taquan Marshall character and I have thoughts about him. I know this, this Quay Cersei character and I have thoughts about him. And right now, I'd say that list is it's shorter, right? And yeah, you see the natural departure of Haynes King, Jamal Hayes, Vandenberg, Rutledge. Those are um, guys who are gone because they just turn over too. But so I mean that's a part of it too, because quite a few contributors are gone in that sense as well. But I don't know, just something I've been pondering too in my 36-hour sprint to have thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, when you have a new quarterback that only played in garbage time situations last year, yeah, that's an absolute fair question to go for. I mean, we know he's related to a Heisman Trophy winner and was in the same quarterback's room as him. So if nothing bled over to him, that's something's clearly wrong. And so I think it's fair to assume that with Alberto, you got a fair amount of just like, and this has been said by everyone on the staff that like he's a smart dude. Like he knows how to do this. They're what Gotti said, they have like a gazillion more plays compared to what we were running last year with Buster, um, with just various package formations and things, which I don't know how to.
Time out on that for a second. I
Yeah,
saw that quote, and I saw it was something. I want to make sure I get the number or the scale right. It was like last year we had 80 plays. Now we have like 260. Is it bad that stressed me out? Because I was like, these are college kids. Like, I do not expect them to know how to run an NFL playbook, and neither should you. But if you are, this feels like you're barking up a the wrong tree
I don't know.
conceptually.
We're Georgia Tech. I think we can do that.
Was anyone else like completely in a blender trying to play offense on College Football 26, the video game? Because like they came out and they're like, oh, we got all the way up to like 25,000 plays in this game. And I was like, maybe this isn't a good thing because like I can't find half of the things I want to run in this playbook because they're so huge.
Yeah. No.
Custom playbook.
You only need like
custom playbook.
You really only need like 10 plays in that game. It's really just 10.
Paul Johnson did it with like 4.
Yeah.
All right. And he that worked out well for him.
Well, and the thing I would say about that is like I feel like one of the lasting impressions I have from, just this spring or summer camp starting back up and stuff like that is interviews with like George Godsey and other folks being like, oh, there was I think it was when ACC Network was here. They interviewed the running backs and they're like, describe Alberto Mendoza. And everyone's like, intelligent. And it's great. I'm glad we have a smart QB. That's an awesome adjective. I hope he's smart. All of his interviews come off as brainy. But like, if you're racking through 240 plays as a first time starter, I don't know that I don't care how much this is Georgia Tech. Our QB's a genius. Like
Right.
I know a lot of smart people that need some time to process. Like that's what the speed of the game. Maybe that's more of a basketball phrase, but feels
But
completely.
it's one of those things where you get like 3 weeks in and the team is not put together like consistent offensive performances. And there's a quote in like the midweek presser where they're like, we're trying to simplify the offense so that we can so that our guys can focus on what's important. Like it's like it's a very weird leading indicator to me.
Yeah.
Who
knows
how
like
many like a yellow flag.
Right.
So
and who knows
much.
how many of these are actually like ready to run in a game too, kind of thing. Also, I mean, like when you do, I don't know if y'all have seen like the Drew Brees videos where like he like I think he did on late night one time explain like the different components of when you tell a play call in the huddle, and the guys only have to listen to like one part of it, and then they know what their job is, and so like it makes it's just really just Alberto that's bears the brunt of the entire thing as long as each part of the team knows what to do. So it can be not the worst, but we'll see how it goes. All that to say, on your original question, Jake, on like what does this make us feel with not knowing much? Yeah, there is still that, but I do feel like at the same time, knowing that like, oh, we got a hell of a lot bigger on the defensive side, and that was a big priority for Brent Key. And yeah, he just went out and did it immediately. It was like alarmingly nice how good the defensive signings were, and that yes, we did rebuild the wide receiver room. We do have Jordan Allen, who is fast as freaking hell. And yeah, you got we have 3 legitimate running backs that are going to all get time. It's like, okay, there is at least still a path to success here. And let me tell you, if our defense is better than it was last year, which was like 120th or something in EPA per play in FBS, that's progress. And that is I think, a very good sign when we were, as we mentioned, what Joe was giving us in a good analogy, if Act Two, if that's what the starting point for Act Two is.
I want to add one more thing too to the question that Jake asked about all the new of it all the new of it all. Good, yeah. I'm still working on. We're still in the preseason. I, I do think that this year in particular is going to be a unique one around college football because I don't think this is only a thing we're seeing at Georgia Tech. I think this is also the year where we're really finally starting to filter out some of the COVID seniors. And think about, I mean, Haynes King was a 6th-year senior last year. Carson Beck at Miami, 6th-year senior. Like how many guys, and it's especially the quarterback position, but it's somewhat others where it's like, how long did some of these guys stick around and just one more year because they're known quantities, not necessarily because they're outstanding, but because they won't be bad, and so teams want to keep bringing them in and keep bringing them in. But it seems like now we're getting to a point where now all these teams are being forced to play guys who are a lot less proven. And so I look around the ACC. You can also look around the rest of the country. Like there's going to be a lot of new faces this year compared to the last like 4 or 5 years where we've been seeing the same guys getting recycled, even if they've bounced around from team to team. So it's an uncomfortable feeling, I think, but I don't think it's as uncommon or unique to Georgia Tech as some people might want to think it is.
Yeah.
To that point, the quarterback of the LSU Florida shoe throw game in 2020 is on his last year of eligibility this year.
Oh,
I think he's at Georgia Southern.
Yeah, Max Johnson, is that?
Yes.
Is he the one that was at UNC for a minute too, or is
Yep.
that a
Yes,
different?
he was just named the starter at Southern for this season.
LSU, A&M, UNC, and now Georgia Southern.
Jeez.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yep. It's such a weird and also you tack on some of the guys that are trying to get 50 years to get back in and try to play another get back to their starting spot and not have to go to the league. There's active guys on preseason rosters that are trying to come back to college. I think it's just going to be a very weird, volatile year in terms of
I'm glad we don't
roster
have
and
people.
talent levels.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have people that are having to deal with that right now either. Like we don't have any of those people trying to come their way back to campus like that. That just sounds like a nightmare for everyone involved. And one of the head coaches, big time head coaches out there, mentioned this doesn't make sense if you're a graduate student either. We can't enroll you that fast. It just becomes a logistical nightmare too with this close to the season and having had no practice time with your team during fall camp. That doesn't. It's not basketball where you can just go plug in and know how to run a pick and roll. It's very, very different. So that's kind of glad we're not in that fray. But anyways, should we go through some new players?
Let's go through some new players. Again, this is the wide unknown for Georgia Tech, but what looks to be their primary offensive players this season will be Justice Haynes, who Jack already mentioned, at running back Alberto Mendoza, who we've already discussed at quarterback, 2 new tight ends, Kevin Roach and Chris Corbo, and then a raft of new wide receivers. I think how many are there in this list? 10.
I added so many guys. Just
I'm not going to read all of them, but there are 10 new guys to catch passes. Jack, anyone else you want to spotlight here?
It's on the wide receiver front. I think Isaiah Furman, I know, has been a name that's been brought up. He was at the FCS level, but played pretty well. Raheem Smith is a guy as well. Chris Elko has been on the roster, but he'll probably see some more time. I know Chris Corbo is very highly ranked when it comes to tight end guys this coming year in the conference. He was a Yale transfer. Does that sound right, Joey? I know he was Ivy League.
Yeah.
So it's one
Princeton?
of those.
I forget something.
Yale or Princeton, yeah. So that's interesting. So that last year we knew we had real wide receivers that we didn't even play in the spring game because we didn't want people to see Eric Rivers and then poach him in the summer and then oh no, we don't have a wide receiver anymore. So at least this year is really going to be all right, what's going to happen here? What now that we lost Isaiah Canyon to that other school, it really is kind of a question mark beyond Jordan Allen of what is this going to look like? We did also get DeBron Gatling. I forgot to mention him. He was at South Carolina last year, or he's at South Carolina and redshirted. So he's got. So there's just a lot of lack of experience that we just don't know about in terms of playing with our guys. So it's going to be we'll find out in the first quarter in a couple Thursdays how that really is going to mesh.
Both coordinators are also new this year. George Godsey, as discussed on the offensive side, Jason Seymour on the defensive side. Jason Seymour is sort of a boomerang situation for Georgia Tech. He was previously a defensive analyst under the Jeff Collins era, went to Marshall to be the defensive coordinator, and then Southern Miss for 1 year as the defensive coordinator, and is now back on campus. Some returning names to cover as well on the offensive line: Ethan McKinney, Malachi Carney, Josh Petty, and Kevin P. In terms of your skill positions offensively, Trey Maddox, Chad Alexander, Jordan Allen, and JP Powell are all back. Defensive skill positions: EJ Lightsey, Zachary Toby, Savion Riley, Tay Harris, Phoenix Felton, Kyle Eford. Kyle Eford still has eligibility.
Yeah,
Also,
man.
Jack, you listed him as a DB. That can't be right.
A linebacker. I don't know, behind the line of scrimmage. That section of that.
Defensive at defensive line, AJ Hoffler, Amontre Bradford, Braden Manley are all back, and then at kicker, Aiden Burr also returns. Malachi Hosley is also in the backfield. I missed him
Yes.
earlier as well. So it's weird to be like, oh, there's all this unknown and new, and yeah, the most important position. I mean, especially a quarterback, that most important position on the offense. You're like, oh, question mark. But if I just read out probably 20 names that sound pretty familiar from last year's team too. So there's a floor, right? You can see where there's a floor of talent offensively, and we're really debating. Okay, does Alberto Mendoza, do Justice Haynes really really elevate this team to the same? Maybe not the same stratosphere, but maybe the tier right under it as last year, right? Can we get to that 7-win, 8-win area and maybe be right on the cusp of challenging for that ACC championship? It's gonna be. I mean, it's just gonna be a very very weird. Again, there's so much new. There's so much unknown. It's so hard to say.
Yeah. Joey, where's your head at? 'Cause this is it. To kind of to Jake's point, there is the unknown, but it's like, okay, we mentioned all these guys' names last year, either in a in-game situation or a hey, they came in rotation, knowing hey, we need these guys for this year in particular, too, regardless of what happened with the transfer portal.
I think the biggest thing that I'm going to be keeping an eye on that I think has a chance to be a noticeable step up is on the defensive line. There was a healthy little line change there in who was on that roster last year and who's on it this year. And it definitely seems like a thing where Brent Key and that staff have made it a point to try to increase their size there, make sure you're not getting pushed around. I mean, there were times last year where it felt like it was a little bit of a JJ Vandenberg and a bunch of mixed bags. And I think they brought in a lot of depth there. There's been some discussions about that in some post-practice press conferences and such as we've gotten here into the preseason. So I think they're feeling pretty good about that. And then the other thing is just I'm curious to see how the offense looks noticeably different. I mean, and obviously it starts with bringing in a new offensive coordinator in George Godsey, a guy who does have a lot of background, a lot of accolades, good programs that he's been a part of. I think I have a couple of questions, about where does that go? I think that was, you could have done worse. You probably could have done a little bit better, in terms of getting me excited about your offensive coordinator, but clearly been a lot of part of, especially coming from like the Ravens and stuff. I mean, they're always good and innovating and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for they're innovating and kind of changing up their own stuff to try to make things work. But ultimately, I think this looks a little bit different from a balance standpoint because you've got a quarterback who's stylistically different than what we've gotten used to the last couple of years with Haynes King.
Right.
He's not a statue back there, but I don't think he's going to be as active in the run game. But also you've built up this big offensive line. You've got this nasty running back room that you're looking to use. And so just kind of curious to see what does the balance look like and what are some things that they have done for a couple of years that they don't, and what are some things that they haven't been doing that they start to. I think that'll be something to keep an eye on as well, just schematically.
Right. Yeah, I'll be curious how much they need. Like, you're gonna. It's gonna be a run first team, and so what is this just another variant of the triple option, except you have three running backs maybe to go with instead of having Alberto run, or you're really gonna try to hey, we have these tight ends. I mean, Kevin Roche is an absolute giant, so you could totally see him getting really really involved along with Chris Corbo. So you have multiple sets there that you can probably run with, and then if you're what you can have wide receiver sets and things like that. So it is, yeah. Like I have no idea what this is gonna really look like. 'Cause there's only so much tape of Godsey calling plays, anyways. So tendencies and things like that, you can't. We don't know what those are because it's just been too long to really kind of be like, okay, you know what his kind of offense looks like. But I mean, if I mean, I would assume they're building around this running back room a lot in terms of how they can get a lot of yards. I mean, the offensive line's good. I mean, looking at other previews and things like that, like our offensive line is still rated very highly in the country as well. So like that's that's a huge thing when it just comes to like just those kind of plays where you just need two or three. Just get a couple and a half on first down, get a couple and a half to set up third and shorts and stuff like that. Like I think we could definitely see a blueprint of making those realities and just normal play situations and non-explosive stuff.
I think to that point too, one of the things we talked about last year and even the year before is that Buster Faulkner did a really good job of limiting areas where Haynes King could make mistakes, right? Of not having him throw over, basically not having him have a depth of target beyond 7 yards. And then
Yeah.
even then, like extreme and put him in positions to succeed when he was throwing over 7 yards. I can remember a couple of times where last year, especially where when he was throwing deep balls, it was immediately into 1v1 scenarios where the safety had actually gone to the other side of the field or the safety had come down to defend the run and had gotten super baited into the center of the field. So like they did a really good job of limiting these sorts of mistakes. They did a good job of moving the offensive line, and in both in the pass game and the run game, so that he'd have a moving pocket. He's able to throw the ball a little bit on the run and not get caught in the backfield being a statue. So how much of that stays? How much of that goes? Does Albert like what kind of a quarterback is Alberta? Right? Is he? Maybe they do say, "Hey, we're going to throw the ball a lot more." Even if we have this backfield and we're just going to use the backfield to get tough yards, right? And not make it so run heavy. Like the balance here, I think, is really interesting to me. And again, it's another thing that's just com- completely new. I don't want to crutch on this too much, but there's just so
Yeah.
what is going to come out of this is just like, of the soup of, to be fair, very good skill talent and a high pedigree quarterback. Even if you say, oh well, that's just name and program and how much does that like name program and how much does being just on the same staff as your brother go? But just there's all these different variables in the mix. Can you get the balance right of how you want to run this offense from an identity perspective and be really, really successful? I think that's a big question mark to me as well.
Yes. Well done. Good point.
Awkward silence means we can move on. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming schedule. I have the SP plus ranks and the projections here for each of these games. Georgia Tech, I think, as we mentioned earlier, started out the season as the preseason 42nd overall team in Bill Connolly's rating system. Um, let's go through these one by one. We'll go around very quickly and see what our thoughts are on each game. First game on deck, September 3rd versus Colorado. At home, Georgia Tech is favored in SP Plus by 7.5, and that's including a home field advantage adjustment. Joey, what do you see for this one on week one?
My first instinct says I expect Georgia Tech to win this game, not only because you went there last year and won, and now you get them back in your building, but obviously, I think at this point I have a little bit more faith in the roster building process of Brent Key than I do for one Deion Sanders and what he's got going on out there.
Yeah.
Not to mention other potential off-field distractions there, but what I will say is that a week one game with all that is new for both of these teams, bet at your own risk.
It's going to look grimy. I think that's the one guarantee that it just looks kind of dysfunctional for at least like probably 4 drives, right?
Yeah.
Until they sort of feel each other out and get some tape. Like both teams get tape on each other and some tendencies. I think it just looks grimy. Jake, anything you want to chime in on here?
I feel like we can say what we don't know and that we don't know stuff. But I feel like I'm pretty confident that this is a game that Tech kind of needs. If you want to have the kind of season that I think they think that they are capable of with how they built this roster. I don't know. It was as true last year as it is this year, and this year it's in your building. So got to take care of business. Obviously, a loss isn't going to sink a season, but pretty tough sledding this schedule has. So
It's really important we win this so that they have no way to come back and say, well, we still have a share of the 1990 national championship. If you go 2-0, it's really over. Like that really settles it in a home and home situation.
Jack, anyone with eligibility from that game is like 55 now. I hope you know.
Hey, you never know with the current
It's
rules.
still a feud. It's still a feud. Week 2, Tennessee. Jack, let's start with you. Tennessee is favored by just under 9 points with Tech at home.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I always say going into a season like, especially the ACC, it's like you'll win one game you're not supposed to, you'll lose one game at least that's just like what the hell happened here, and then you can kind of coin toss your way there. Looking at our schedule, only Clemson was the game we should not have won that we did win last year. This year, I think there's might be 2 or 3 of those games, and this is not one of those games. Like this just feels like another kind. Like they'll probably be able to outmuscle us in a lot of ways too. Like we're bigger, but we're not the biggest yet. Um, and if Tennessee's, they also could. There's gonna be a lot of Tennessee people in the stadium probably as well. As much as we hope there won't be. Like this is. It's gonna be tough. But hey, we'll have the primetime game. We're gonna be the talk. We're gonna be game of the night that night as well, which is gonna be really nice. So, uh, on the field, though, I don't have a lot of hope for this one in particular quite yet. Hopefully, the Colorado game tells me otherwise, and we show something that just we didn't know could happen. So it'll be a lot of game one dependent, but right now, I don't see how we win that game.
I don't know. This team, I feel like demonstrably plays better at home, at least in the last couple of years, than they do on the road. So if you're going to get one that's a little bit confusing on the schedule, I mean, we can. I'm not going to tip the cards too much on my thoughts for some of these later games, but if you're going to surprise yourself in any of them, I feel like it's most likely to grab this one versus one of those last 2 road games. But we'll get to those when we get to those. So.
Call out here, by the way, quickly. This game is at Bobby Dodd Stadium. It was originally scheduled for the Big Body Benz down the street, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct. Yeah.
So, not that anybody listening to this show really needs to hear this, but please don't make Ryan Alpert and co. Regret that decision. Let's pack the house and make that a nasty environment for the Vols.
Joey, they can't regret it. They've already added that price to my season tickets. So
there you go. I'm kind of with Jake here. I'm not going to write this one off as a loss just yet. And Tennessee also in a little bit of a transition point as a program. I know last year, especially, they had the whole what was the quarterback's name? Anyways,
Nico.
That's right. He just bailed on him.
I'm never going to pronounce that name right, which is nice. But yeah, that was just such a weird situation with him and Joey Aguilar.
Yeah, I don't think that this is like an unwinnable kind of thing. I don't expect to win, but I kind of there's a chance to me that Georgia Tech can hang around in this game and make it weird towards the end and find a way to win. I don't think that that's a total lost cause.
Yep.
I would say to your point, with that 9-point margin, it gives Tech a pregame projected win probability of about 30%, which feels right based on, I think, the discussion that we're having here. It's not outside 3 out of 10 times, not necessarily outside the realm of possibility that they do come away with a victory. Next one is versus Mercer. That has Tech by 27 points. That Mercer team is pretty good for FCS, if I remember correctly. So might be it's a weird, sneaky look ahead spot. If you're, depending on what you think about Stanford, going to Stanford the next week, which is, I think, their football's first trip to the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
So they'll play at Stanford in an ACC conference matchup on September 26th. Tech is favored by just under 6 points by SP Plus. This should be a fun trip, and there should be like a pretty sizable Georgia Tech contingent at this game. And that Stanford team is terrible. They are irredeemably terrible. In a way that I cannot quite describe, and it's very weird.
A true fan There you go.
But it's so weird. Again, for someone who has priors for Stanford, like for Stanford from the Andrew Luck years, right? And where they were at worst competent, to see them be this bad is just shocking. Like this bad and this organizationally, like fundamentally bad is shocking to me.
Yeah.
Like it does not make sense. Then again, Andrew Luck is now the GM. And I guess hired his buddy for a year. Well, no, they hired a full timer. Oh, right, it's Tavita
Right.
Pritchard. That's the head
Yes.
coach there. I completely forgot.
Pritchard's the head coach after Frank Wright was the full year interim as basically the placeholder guy while Andrew Luck did a year-long coaching search to find the next guy, and that's how it landed.
To find a guy he already knew pretty well.
Tavita Pritchard was the previous regime's offensive coordinator, and he was not good at offensive coordinating for a while there.
I'll note on a travel standpoint, Duke will also be coming from the East. I mean, not Duke. Stanford will be coming from the East Coast, having played Duke the weekend before. So
It's a nice little round robin there.
It really is. And then they've got Miami at home in week 2, which will be morbidly interesting. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, at least this will be our first trip of the entire season. So I think in terms of like best case scenario of when you have to go to the West Coast, this is as good as you're probably going to get, which is coming off your FCS game, having not traveled a mile, and then you get to go do this. And yes, as you mentioned, Akshay, we're gonna have a lot of people at this game. California is the largest non-Georgia state of living alumni right now residing in the state, and of course we have a gazillion people out of Palo Alto and places like that. So it's going to be, I know at least campus is going to do a lot of stuff out there, a lot of programming out in California. So this is going to be, if there is not 5,000 Tech fans there, I'll be kind of surprised. Like there really should be a nice little group out there.
Stanford Stadium's nice. That's my only contribution to that. It's a nice little stadium. It's hosted the Super Bowl before.
That's true.
3 quick notes I'll add. Tavita Pritchard, I believe, backed up Andrew Luck when they were quarterbacks together.
Oh, so this is super nepotism here
from the Department of Nepotism hires. Yeah, this is squarely in that territory. Number 1. Number 2, this is Georgia Tech's first game against any of the 3 new ACC teams that joined a couple of years ago. I believe it was them and North Carolina. I think Georgia Tech might be the last of the prior 14 ACC teams to play any of Cal, Stanford, or SMU. Just weirdness the way that all kind of shook out. Number 2. And number 3, you are correct. Stanford predicted to be bottom of the conference, obviously kind of starting over as a program in a bad spot. So get ready for a 1-score game, and Stanford's going to have the ball with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter as we are deep into the night, trying to find a way to, win that game and go to bed happy.
That's a 10 p.m. kick, isn't it?
10:30 p.m. Eastern time kick. Yep.
So gross.
Yep.
The Pacific time shouldn't exist. That's far too late to be kicking off a football game.
And if anybody's looking for a partner to watch along with, we'll probably be live streaming on the Basketball Conference YouTube channel.
Hey, there we go.
Come join us over there. Basketball Conference podcast on YouTube.
Organic promotion.
Yeah.
Well done.
There we go. Next game is at home versus Duke, I believe. Duke is favored by 2.5 points. This one's a weird one. The scare from Duke last year still is permanently seared in my memory. Don't really know. For me personally, I'm not sure how to feel about that. I also am shocked that Duke, after losing their quarterback to the transfer portal and losing him to Miami, is still this high in terms of SP plus. I'm just shocked by that.
Yeah.
I have listened to the Connor preview of Basketball Conference podcast's background, and I think I have to agree with kind of Mike's read on the situation, Joey. And you can tell me if I'm off base here, but like Duke has more question marks than we do as a team, and you get them in your own building. Again, I get that Duke is favored here, but like Duke's pretty sus right now until they show me that they are going to bounce back from losing maybe the best quarterback they've ever had as a program.
And that's Duke. Daniel Jones erasure right there. He was the 6th overall pick.
Daniel Jones is a guy. He's just a guy. Like
He's just
I don't
can't.
know. I've seen him play live in multiple leagues, man. Like I don't get the juice, but
Darian Mintz is going to win a Heisman and a national championship now that he went to Miami. That's the difference.
yeah.
Did anybody
Yeah.
see that? Right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I could squint and believe it. I can't squint and believe that with Danny Dimes. I I realize I haven't chimed up much for Mercer or Stanford, but I'll throw Duke in this bucket. I think my read on the schedule is, and I'll extend this to BC as well. The pre-COVID, pre-homecoming stretch of the schedule feels very different to me than the post homecoming read on the schedule. And I think, again, if you're going to have, and I said this before, if you're going to have the season that you want to have, winning some form or fashion of Colorado, Mercer, Stanford, Duke, and BC has to be in the mix. And then you have some kind of more question marky type games, Tennessee and Virginia Tech, which we'll talk about next. Which, again, there's a lot of teams I don't know how to feel about on this schedule. I feel like I have a pretty comfortable understanding of a Stanford or a Duke or a BC. So
Yeah. Worth noting, both teams are coming off a bye in this game as well, so there's no rest advantage for us or for them. Their advantage is that they host William and Mary before they play us, so they won't have a travel part of it. But yeah, so we lose that. I'm looking at pairs ratings, and they do favor us by 4. Of course, no football games have been played yet, but I think this probably does for a lot of folks feel like if you're for the Bill Simmons fans, the Vegas zone kind of thing, where it's like you don't really know, so you throw it somewhere between 2 and 4 points basically, and you're just like, all right, maybe that'll happen. There's not really a real solid idea of where this game could go. At least it's at home. I think that probably that should definitely help us a lot. Just knowing, I mean, I say that it helped us out there too. We were the louder fan base at Wallace Wade last year during that game, so that it really wouldn't have mattered.
I do believe we have a previous podcast episode titled Wallace Wade Mausoleum. So I think that encapsulates the environment that Duke fans create over there.
Again, this was a time in which I would argue that Tech was not traveling as well as it is now, but I've definitely been at Wallace Wade with more Tech fans than Duke fans, so I stand by that.
But now that they have those party decks, it's a whole different ball game, Jake. You don't understand.
Man, there was a
So they're lined up in tents for the football team too. I don't believe it, But
there was an extended period there in like the mid 2010s where I would tell you that Duke had like this anti-home field advantage where it was so quiet and so like such a low energy environment that it like sapped the energy out of the opposing team. But Duke was so used to it that like they could like take advantage in cases like that. It was weird to watch. If you told me right now that Georgia Tech is going to lose to Duke in that game, I would be disappointed. I'm kind of with Jake thinking that they lost several of their best players either to graduation or like very last minute transfer portal entry. Shout out Miami and Mario and all that. But I have significant questions about Duke coming into this season, unlike I did last year. So that would be a disappointment to lose that game at home to a team that's, again, got some questions to answer in my mind.
Yep.
Next game is at Penn State. Actually, excuse me, that is at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is favored at home by 5 points, which is crazy considering the season that VT had last year, and also the season that Penn State had last year on the same note. Brent Pry did not work out in any way, shape, or form. I think we can safely say that. James Franklin takes over in Blacksburg and brings with him, I think. Like the joke is not
Brent
really
Pry.
a joke. He
brings Brent Pry with him.
That's Brent Pry back as the defensive coordinator, and then the entire Penn State team that made the play, like most of which made a playoff the year before. It's crazy. I don't like. This is like the weird. Like I know we talked about Florida importing Georgia Tech's backup offense this year. This is like a weird, bizarro form of that. And I just don't really know how to feel about it at all. Like 5.2 points just feels like way too large of a margin for a team that is a clone of another team, but also not a clone of that team, but also brings back that same bad coach, the defensive coordinator. There's so many. My brain hurts. I think I need to take a minute.
I mean, who the hell knows how VT is going to be? They should be better. They're putting a lot of money behind this team.
It's very hard to be bad. It's very hard to be worse.
They're doing a lot to get this thing back to where it should be. I'm looking at the all-time. I was curious about the all-time history of the series right now. And folks probably know this better than me, but we've only lost once in the last decade playing in Blacksburg, which was when we had in Blacksburg. We've only lost once in the last decade.
I remember that game. Wasn't it 45-0?
21-6.
No, that
we
one
lost.
was at home.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And
I do not remember that game because that was 2024, wasn't it? Okay.
Yes, that was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So injured Zach Pyron played most of the game after
Right.
getting walloped by Notre Dame the week beforehand, and then
Yes.
Aaron Philo came in towards the end and like looked good. And it was like, what have we been doing for 3.5 quarters? Put that guy in.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was that game. They beat us
Guys,
45-0
to
here.
enjoy my honeymoon on that one. So
Good idea. Good
That's
call.
a good button to be able to hit.
Good call. Yeah, 2018 we won 49-28. 2016 we won 30-20, and then 2014 we won 27-24, and then 2012 we lost to them. So yeah,
16.
In 2016 we won 30-20. Yeah.
I've never lost more
game,
money.
By the way, they
betting
were
a single
ranked.
game.
Really?
What?
Whoops.
Was 2016 was the
terrible game. Sorry, Joey.
It wasn't 2016. Maybe it was 2018. One of those was a Matthew Jordan special.
Yeah.
That was 2016. Yeah.
That was it. I got a text from somebody who was in the building in Blacksburg before the game saying, hey, the starting center, the starting quarterback, and the starting B-back are all out of this game. And I was like, hammer the Hokies minus the 7 or minus the 14, whatever it was. And then Tech just smoked them. And the reason I lost as much as I did was because I bet it pregame. And then Tech goes up early, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to double down, like bet again against on the Hokies." And finally, I was like, "Oh, I'm just on the wrong side of this." But then at that point, I was in way deeper than I'd ever been on a single game. So, yikes! You live and you learn.
Lessons.
Womp womp.
I was going to plug for any Capital or North Carolina or even Atlanta-based Georgia Tech fans, Virginia Tech fans I found to be very accommodating in my trip up there, and I thought it was a great fall vibe. So if you're looking for an away game, I see this one as coin flippy, even though I do think Franklin's a pretty good coach and they've got some talent up there. They've got a lot to answer to, but yeah, if you want a cool away game, I like that one a lot. So.
Quick time out here before. Sorry, Joey, go ahead.
I was just going to quickly add about Virginia Tech, and because I don't want to come on in this show without mentioning process somewhere. I just wanted to say it irritates me a little bit that Virginia Tech ends up with James Franklin, because process-wise, they fired Brent Pry before they ever knew that James Franklin was going to be an option. And if he hadn't been the option, I don't know what the plan was there. Like,
seriously, yeah.
This is like just, could not have gotten luckier, like won the lottery, something fell out of the sky into your lap. Going from Brent Pry, and they've kind of been meandering a little bit since even the tail end of the Frank Beamer era, to then get James Franklin, who just was in the national semifinal the year before, and like unbelievable how well that worked out for Virginia Tech, when I don't know what the plan B ever would have been.
Right. Knowing the Michigan job eventually got open, like you would have thought that James probably makes the hop over there because he's like, well, we know we can win, and that's
forgot.
Yeah,
I forgot all about the scenario that ended up with that job open. That just flashed back in my brain.
Getting away with this.
Yeah.
That's how I felt doing the Virginia Tech search. But anyways.
Quick around the room before we go on to homecoming. Yes or no? Should Penn State have fired James Franklin? I say no. Joey, what say you?
Hell no, absolutely not.
Jake?
No way. Not a chance.
Jack?
Yeah, no chance.
Glad,
that made no sense.
Glad we all have the same perspective on that, because that was
this is our guy who took us to the national semifinal to fired in like 6 weeks. That's absurd. If I was a donor for that program, I'd be like, you're never getting another red cent from me ever again. Anyways.
Let's go to homecoming here. That is home versus Boston College. Tech is favored by 11 points. I do not think that Boston College team is very good.
We can probably breeze past this one. They are not good. They're not good at all.
Not a good situation in Chestnut Hill right now.
Bill O'Brien. Everyone thought it was going to work out, surely. Jeff Hafley leaving for the NFL.
Does anyone remember who their defensive coordinator is?
Is it
Oh,
Teddy
God.
Roof?
Yes,
It's
I
our
do.
Yes,
boy.
it is. Yes, it is.
We'll see how
Hey,
that
that's
What's
goes
a
old
for
tech
him.
is new
man for
again.
you. Yeah.
What's
Welcome to the
old
pit.
is What's old is new again. Next game is versus Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. Pitt is favored by 3 points. This is PTSD for me in particular, having sat in that stadium and watched Pitt just sort of, I don't know, beat Georgia Tech with a hammer for 2 quarters last year. Anyone have any thoughts other than trauma? Because I sure don't.
This is the game that feels like the coin flippy ACC game you get, where it's just who the hell knows what's going to happen here? Because you're going to get just some stupid November October games that just make no sense as the games roll out, and this feels like a great candidate for that kind of night for both teams. I mean, it could be us where Alberto throws 3 picks and we're miraculously in it, or they just find a way to steamroll us again. Like there's a lot of things you could tell me of how this game goes, and I'd believe you.
I, yeah, I fully believe that one of these two teams is probably going to win by 17 points, but that it could be either of these two teams. So
Right.
therefore, a 3 point line feels fine to me,
Yeah.
knowing
Bill
what we know
Simmons
right now.
zone, the
Like,
Vegas zone.
Vegas.
yeah,
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 not a lot of games in the ACC that I would call unwinnable. This is certainly not one of them. Don't expect them to be favored, but I would
sure
say
as
it would
hell
take
is
something
losable.
very unusual, unpredictable for them to be favored going into this game on the road. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty toss-uppy. Who knows?
Same deal with hosting Louisville. Louisville's favored by 3 points, but Tech is at home in this one. I don't think Louisville and Georgia Tech have ever played a normal conference football game, ever. Like not a single time. Either Brian Van Gorder gets the pants beaten off of him, or like just like weird stuff happens in this particular fixture every single time.
Do
Yeah,
we
we need.
do we have we don't have enough time for me to unbox that Louisville is Tech's next rival. But I firmly believe that that is true. And I firmly believe that this game is going to be weird. I just don't know how it's going to be weird yet. It's like the anti of the pit. The pit, I believe it's going to be conventionally high variance, and in this one, I feel more like, yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
thinking
It's
about that
probably
2024 game, right? That was on the road in Louisville. That was a completely winnable game. And like
Yes.
2 or 3 moments go the wrong way. I think they throw a pick six going at like right at halftime.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily change the complexion of the game. But like, again, it's like 2 or 3 moments where it's just something completely bizarre happens and it ends up costing
It
them the
was
game.
it was a big Haynes King blunder, one of the rare Haynes King blunder games, and I think Jamal Haynes at that point had started to really get hurt as well, and just was not as effective as he usually was. So like we were kind of expecting a hell of a lot more than we got, and just one random, just terrible fluke by Haynes, and that was Haynes King, and then that just kind of spilled the rest of that game for us.
Was there like a
Ooh.
punt return for a touchdown and like a blocked field goal or something? Like
Dick
there
was
was
there,
a
so I'm
touchdown.
relying on his memory for this.
I was there, and my sister, now current Louisville grad, at the time Louisville student, we were lining up for a field goal, and I was kind of being a despondent Georgia Tech fan. I believe it was in the third quarter. She goes, "Don't worry, you'll be less than a score down after this one." And I was like, "Don't talk like that. The kick is not up yet." But I'm gonna forget about this in my post Section 103 ad read of an actual legitimate 100 thing that they could add to their thing for improvements to game day. Louisville has an incredible recycling and like can collection and anti-trash program. You'd never really guess it. It's just kind of in the woodwork there. Trade your cans for like freebie giveaway T-shirt type stuff. Crib that. Just take it. Crib all their notes and do the exact same thing at Georgia Tech. So I forgot about that until you mentioned that game, and I was like, oh yeah, that was my other takeaway from that game is recycling, and oh no, why did we do all those things that we did? Anyways, yeah, Clemson.
Let's go to the next fixture versus Clemson. Clemson is favored by 10. I have no idea what to think about Clemson in the year of our Lord 2026. They seem just like a very chaotic, somehow both extremely volatile and also just like very, very weird. Like, I don't know if Dabo Swinney is going to last the next 2 years, honestly. Like, he just does not seem up for what this new really what this new era of college football is.
But
It does not smell good.
but at the same time, for how talented they are and going in their own building, like I don't know.
Oh, yeah. The result and my opinion of that program are two different things.
I would
Like,
feel
I don't think that they're an elite program anymore. Like,
I would feel a lot differently about this game if it were in Atlanta. I do
Totally,
not
yeah.
like the prospects of going into Death Valley and trying to beat them there.
although there's also a fun question in here of what if he's fired by November, which I don't think is necessarily like a realistic. Like, I'm not putting that probability at anything under like or anything over like 5%.
Yeah.
But it could go really poorly for him and Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, I mean, they still got some decent wins last year. I'm looking back at their schedule now. They did have that 1 point loss to Duke. They lost 46-45 on top of our game. So like their season is absolutely flippable in terms of prestige if you flip our game and that game as well. And of course, all those things lead to Duke winning the ACC. So like it was always destiny and
I
preordained.
forgot about that too.
So but they played decently well the back half of last year. So there's definitely still some like they always got their act together, even if it seems like it's a disaster going on.
The championship
Actually,
phase, except it's for, I don't know, the ACC championship instead of the national championship.
Akshay, I hate to well actually you, except I love to well actually you.
No,
I'd
you
like
do.
to remind you that Cade Klubnik is now a quarterback for the New York Jets, not the Clemson Tigers, but I know what you mean when you said it like that. So,
Who's
Well,
gonna
it's
fix
still
all
not
the
a great
Jets'
look for
problems?
Cade Klubnik, to be clear, to be associated with the New York Jets.
It's
He'll fix
a
all the
demotion.
that.
It's a true demotion.
I think the New
He
York
just loved
Jets
the
are just
pinstripe bowl.
purgatory.
You know.
He does love the pinstripe.
Anyways,
Let's move on. Next one is last home game in senior day will be versus Wake Forest. Georgia Tech is favored by 5. Who's the quarterback at Wake Forest that was running all over Georgia Tech last year? Robbie A. I
Was
can't
that
remember the
Robbie
last name.
Ashford or
Ashford?
was
Yeah, it was
Yes, it was
Ashford.
Robbie
Yeah.
Ashford. Is he still there? Because if so, I am concerned yet again.
I really hope not.
He is a former college football quarterback per Wikipedia. So there
They
you go.
have. Oh, okay. I know who they have. They
I know
have.
who they have from
they've
the
got-
state of North Carolina.
So the state of North Carolina and former South Alabama legend Gio Lopez at quarterback this year.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
didn't he
Okay.
go to the University of North Carolina for a
He
minute
was there last year.
Or-
Yes, he started the game. He started the infamous TCU game last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And then
And he
quickly
went great.
left,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I
getting
like
in a
this game
bad
being at
situation
home.
fast.
I was going to
Yeah.
say that team played out of their shoes against us last year, and there's
A offside call
Joey, I heard
away.
you about. I heard you about to say you're glad this one's at home, and yeah, I feel that.
I really want us to win this game, not because of just because obviously, duh, we need to win this game, but just I want to see us get an important late season home win. Like that kind of stuff eventually is gonna like at that time of the year, like who the hell knows what the conference stands are gonna look like? We have to finish a week early because of the Georgia game as well, compared to some other teams. So like that's just one of those like that can get you from either a really crappy bowl to at least a bowl that you're gonna enjoy going to, or save your season kind of situation. Who the hell knows? Like there is gonna be a lot riding on this game no matter what happens. Assuming we haven't had the entire team go down with injury and we're at 2 wins or whatever, something dumb like that. But that's a long shot from happening.
I think we can to that point. I think we can skip over the last game of the season. The margin of loss does not look pretty good. So that leaves us with
hang on.
Hold on a second. It's like you haven't watched the series in the last 3 years. Hold on a second.
Which yeah, to Jack's point, as outgunned as they can and will be in that game on an annual basis, they just keep finding a way to make it like a 1-score game, don't they? Like it's,
Yep.
and I even think back to the 2022 game in Brent Key's interim game where he went in with, what was it, Ty Pumachan and it was post Zach Gibson. Who was the other quarterback that
would have
been
God.
they were
Pyron, right?
It may have been. This is what 2022.
Yeah.
Our QBs that year. Oh dear. But yeah, I do remember Palmachan was in the consideration set.
Clemson legend.
We were past Sims, get past Gibson, Tyson. Yeah, it was probably Gibson or Pumachan. There's only 4 listed on the roster
Might
page.
have been the two of them,
Yeah.
yeah. But my point being is that I really don't want to think through what that Georgia team then went and did in the postseason, so we don't have to talk about that. But
No.
if I'm not mistaken, that was a 1-score game at halftime.
We had a lead in that game, like,
And
which seemed impossible. That there
It
was
was 7-2. It was 10-7 Georgia at halftime.
yeah.
Don't talk about the second half, but it was 10-7 at halftime.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, but the point being that, you know, Brent Key and that staff playing with both hands tied behind their back and one of their legs tied behind their back, and yet still somehow like
figured something out. Yeah, right.
figured something out. You know, so it always seems like they have something special for this game, and they, you know, they haven't gotten blown out yet, other than the second half of that game. But again, don't have to go too far into that. But just again, games that I'm not going to completely write off. Like if you keep playing 1-score games against them every year, eventually you're going to get one of them.
I'm looking at the Winsipedia just like history page, and they just have the margin of victory bar. Like it goes, it grows in magnitude of how much you win by, and there's a pretty steady progression of like Georgia wins a lot in a row, but then right in the lead up of when we start winning 3 or 4 in a row is when the margin of victory starts shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and we are in one of those cycles again for sure. That's not a guarantee that we're going to pull it off this year by any means, but like that is kind of how this happens. Is like we get a little bit closer. It's never like a big flip unless it's like the 1910s or whatever. So it's we've seen this before, and it usually turns into us getting one eventually. I'd be much more confident, of course, next year when it's actually going to be in Bobby Dodd. And it will be the first time in what will feel like 4 years since we've had a proper home game against them, if not more. So, and hopefully you got year 2 Alberto going on as well. So you got way more cards in your favor. So, yeah, I mean, it's a rivalry game. Now that we're actually competent and that we have a real floor of a football team, this will always be a lot closer than it probably has any right to be on paper. Because that's how rivalry games work. And we, for the most part, figured it out. We always save something for that game. Like something always happens that just gives us a good kill shot against them. And whether or not it actually kills them is another question. But, you know, this game has become one of the most must-watch games in college football the last 3 years.
It's the bit from Zombieland that you had a double tap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also want to say I on a recent shutdown full cast, Ryan Nanny mentioned that if he could change one result from the last 10 years of college football, it would be that 8 overtime game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, yeah, the despondent sigh from Joey is about my feelings on the matter.
There is some history at stake with this game. As of now, both Tech and Georgia have 8-game winning streaks as their longest win streak in the series. And if they win this year, they will be the first side to have gone on a 9-game win streak in the series. So we are playing
That
for
Georgia Tech like it's already been played.
Real-time follow-up, by the way, on a bit that we started earlier. Max Johnson is officially the starting quarterback at Georgia Southern.
Great.
Have fun.
Fun stuff. Is that still Clay Helton down there?
No, I don't think so.
Clay's...
Didn't he get like turbo fired?
Yeah.
Wait, no. Wait. I don't know about that.
This is a fun diversion.
Clay Helton. No, he's still there. He's still there.
That's right.
Talk about tough looks. Ooh,
Keep on going.
Sum total for the season by SP Plus is 5-7 if you count by second order wins, and win probability that is around 6 wins. So I think SP Plus agrees with us just in terms of vibes that this is going to really go either way. This could either be, a couple coin flips, a couple balls bounce your way. This could be, an 8-win team. A couple balls that don't bounce your way. This could be a 5-4 win team, just based on the way that the schedule rolls. I think this is back to a normal schedule, or like what we're used to as fans for the most part, where you get the 3 really nasty out of conference games, and then the ACC schedule is just a big old shrug for the most part. This has very 2016 vibes to me. It's it is a very pre super conference schedule to me. I don't know if you guys feel any differently.
Yeah, it does feel like we're playing an ACC ball. You got Clemson on the schedule. You got Duke on the schedule. You got normal teams. Next, Stanford's an exotic out of conference game that we get to play, and then Then you get kind of the other in-state normies. So this will be hopefully this feel. I agree with SB. It's like there's so much that we don't know, but the floor is good enough to win enough to be competitive. So I mean, I feel like a bowl game is the absolute floor of this team that to call this even remotely close to a successful season. If they're not in a bowl game, hopefully, and they didn't get injured, they better have gotten injured or something to miss a bowl have that be a valid excuse to not make one this year.
Okay, here's a good exercise, and I'm pulling this one on you guys out of nowhere because it's not on the sheet. If you say the bowl game, making a bowl game is like the absolute floor for this team, give me the ceiling using a bowl game, like the tier or like the like
Right.
reputation of the bowl game is the ceiling.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl once again. We can't play in that a second.
Bowl games is the ACC in again?
I don't think.
Hold on. Let me get the ACC's bowl tie-ins.
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
Let me get the ACC's bowl tie-ins pulled up, and so I will give you all of them if it will let me. So, in no particular order, the ACC's bowl tie-ins: the Duke's Mayo Bowl, the Fenway Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, Military, Pinstripe, Pop-Tarts, ReliaQuest, Gator, and Sun, and then the three at the bottom that are alternates: Birmingham, Gasparilla, and First Responder. I think some of these are like Pac-12. They get tied into the Pac-12, but that is the set that they have to deal with here. And obviously the Orange Bowl is also in there, but I believe that is a playoff semifinal this year.
Yep. It might be like that Gator or Pinstripe-ish kind of range if you're in terms of total ceiling. It's not a playoff. I'm not ever going to think about that this year. So it's like I don't know if you're allowed to go to the same bowl 2 years in a row in a non-playoff context. So I don't think we can even go maybe we can. I don't know. We just can't play the same team. I know. So like we won't play BYU in a bowl again this year. But like a tier below last year feels like a reasonable ceiling, just considering who the hell knows. The ACC is always going to be chaotic as well. Like they've ensured that. So,
and that's your ceiling. That's the ceiling.
Yes,
that's tier two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying a pretty small margin in terms of where that floor and where that ceiling.
Right.
lie.
Yeah. Like at worst, we're at the ReliaQuest, and then at best, we're in one of the nicer ACC bowls.
Mayo or Pop-Tarts.
Something like that. Yeah.
Joey, you have any thoughts on this one?
Maybe a little bit lower than Jack here. I mean, again, this has become such a jumble of like which games are the ACCs and where are those tiers. But yeah, right. I mean, maybe you can jump up and do like the Mayo Bowl or like the Gator Bowl or something like that. But I'm more expecting something kind of on the lower end. Maybe go back to the Gasparilla Bowl that we did a few years ago. It could even be something like the Armed Forces or the Pinstripe Bowl, which from a traveling to a bowl game in December standpoint would not be what you'd hope for. But
no.
You just kind of have to see. You're talking about win totals. I mean, I'm kind of in the same place. If you could tell me right now, you travel back in the future and that, Tech finished with 4 wins or they finished with 9 wins or they finished anywhere in between, I'd believe you. Like, there is a high range of outcomes here, I think, with this team.
Yeah.
Big.
And I think that's why I think the tiering a bowl is such a level of precision that we cannot possibly get to, where like, on the aggregate, Gasparilla, low, high, and medium cover, but like if things break the right way for this team again, and they don't have an implosion game down the stretch, you're talking about a top tier bowl, maybe more.
Yep.
If they lose to Tennessee, Clemson, UGA, and a couple questionable ACC teams, you're talking about scratching to make the First Responders Bowl. So like it's. I don't know. I think both are highly likely, and at that rate, you probably wind up with a 7-8 win regular season team, and you go to a okay bowl, and Bob's your uncle. How's the basketball team? Like right. But
all right. So the final question for y'all. I have the win total from FanDuel pulled up right now. It has Georgia Tech at over under 6.5 wins. Rapid fire around the room. I want over or under. Jack, let's start with you.
Because this is more of like a most likely prediction than a ceiling, so I'm saying 7.
So over.
Over,
Jake
yes.
Same, exact same logic.
and Joey.
It's a really good number. I'm between 6 and 7. I'll say under just to do something different. Say they go 6 and 6.
6 and 7. Between 6 and 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get out of
Vegas
here.
just, they know.
You've been fired from this podcast. Never again.
Look, you got to keep it
season.
fun.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it fun. You got to keep it approachable for Gen Alpha. That's our new customer base, right?
God, they are on campus now. Jesus Christ.
And speaking of the customer base that we're the brand that we're cultivating it for, it's time for our intermission, our Section 103 ad read, Mr. Grant.
Yes, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Section103.com. New school for Section 103. That's Charlotte. The Niners got hats, shirts, polos, really basically anything that you would expect for Georgia Tech. They've got something for it for Charlotte, and it's great to support them and to see them grow. They are up to, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 schools at Section 103, and it's really great to see them come along. Free shipping on orders over $100 every day. Use code FTRS to tell them we sent you. Gents, we lost Joey as his commitments bring him elsewhere, but what else do we have to talk about before we wrap things up here?
Favorite recurring bit, except it's not really a bit, is back. Georgia Tech Athletics has announced their 100 improvements for football game days. And yes, they actually did get to 100 in this entire list. I don't actually want to read all 100,
We will
but
not.
I will read the categories so that people understand what they've done to improve the game day experience. Just for some background, and we talked about this with athletic director Ryan Alpert a couple weeks ago. Georgia Tech Athletics partnered with the School of Industrial and Systems Engineering and the Scheller College of Business to deliver these improvements as part of a senior design program project. So here are your categories. Number 1, getting to campus. Georgia Tech Athletics, along with the Georgia Tech Police Department and Parking and Transportation, will implement several improvements to help fans get to and from campus more efficiently. Jack is telling me to hurry up, so I will just read the names.
Don't do the descriptions.
Of the rest of these. Hell of a block party is number 2. Getting into Bobby Dodd Stadium is number 3. Concessions and merchandise is number 4. Premium experiences is number 5. In-game atmosphere is number 6. Fan experience opportunities are number 7, and then additional improvements or miscellaneous is number 8. Gentlemen, anything stand out to you from any of these sections? Again, there are 100 of these, so I do not want to go through and read all of them.
I have one thing that seemed like a miss to me is it seemed like they talked about signage mostly in the context of like finding parking and stuff like that. I think that's something that still could use some effort, some visibility around the stadium, whether that's to or from the new rideshare area, to or from the stadium itself, where certain gates are, how to get to and from MARTA. I think all of these are legibility things and also reflective of the wide number of places that people tailgate and park, as well as the number of modes people use to get there. I also think that in terms of an easy win for a pretty significant improvement would have been to look at some sort of bike valet or something like that, like Mercedes-Benz uses. And I mentioned a little bit earlier that I think, campus recycling and beautification and things like that are important too. And one that, we clown on some other schools for being a little bit dirty, but, tailgate trash is a real thing and it's kind of unsightly. So, I'm glad that they have 100 things that are improvements, but I hope to know that there are, more things from, the readability, legibility, and upkeep of campus to consider too. And in all that, all these seem fine. There's nothing that's like, oh gosh, why did they do that? But there's always going to be other opportunities to get at as well. So.
I think one thing I've noticed in the discourse afterwards is that a lot of people are really excited about just the ease of point of sale. That there's just a lot more of that's been a problem that like people have like noticed, like, yeah, I want to go get a thing and it's just either lines are too long, there's not enough spots, and they just come back with nothing, and then they've missed part of the game for no reason at all at that point. So And that's a thing that Ryan mentioned to us as well, as like one of the really big things that they wanted to make better. And I mean, and with the expanded security perimeter of the stadium too, that hopefully does also just help to add better square footage to that kind of thing, to where you're able to spread out the density of people going to certain stations or whatnot for food and drink and things like that. So that part's great. I think that was a clear need. People were wanting a better version of, and they're going to get it. So I do enjoy that part's happening. There's a couple of these I'll note that like some of these are kind of just like things that are pretty normal, and which you can like call elevated, but it's kind of like a judgment call. But it's like, hey, it's still a thing that they're thinking about and like going through the motions of when it comes to like hype videos and stuff on the graphics, and your t-shirt cannon and things like that are all mentioned as improvements, which if it improves, great. But like, you're not going to get 100 demonstrable things that everybody is going to be like, oh my God, that thing, oh that thing, oh that thing. Like you do get to pick and choose like the real important projects versus the little things. But hey,
the only time where I nitpick stuff like that is listing fast pass entry lane for premium ticket holders as 4 different gates as 4 different improvements.
Yeah.
You could slot those 3 ideas I just had in there, and you'd actually get to 100.
Yeah.
But,
You got to goose. That was Scheller's contribution to this, goosing the numbers.
You got to make the profits look better. So, no, this is all great. I mean, they're doing more. There's the part of it's also mentioning like, hey, there's more chances to interact with other athletes from the other teams during game days as well, which I think is really cool, just to help increase the exposure of our non-football players as well. They mentioned we have a drone show during the Colorado game, which will be fun for the night game. What isn't mentioned on here, but they're going to start playing Ramblin' Man as like one of the main songs.
It is mentioned on here.
Oh, it is? Okay, never mind. So that's there. Oh yeah, there you go. So we get some Allman Brothers throughout the game, which I think everyone's gonna really like.
Please stop playing the Coldplay song.
Yeah, that's gone.
Please.
That's gone. They
that
changed
would be
that.
An improvement. That's a 4th idea.
So unfortunately,
Coldplay song.
Unfortunately, that was changed mid-season last year after enough Twitter complaints happened. So that was improvement 0 from last year. To put it,
it's not a bad song.
Yeah.
I will be the contrarian.
It's not a good bad football song, though.
I'm with you on it's not a good football song, and I also don't think that they should be doing like a sing along to that. I think they did like a sing along to it multiple times.
Well, just no one sang.
Really.
That was the point.
It's not a sing along song at all.
No, it's fine. So
a song can be great, and a song can be good in football, and those are 2 different things.
Yes, yeah. So. I'll be really.
I will also mention. Oh no, go ahead, Jack.
I'll be really curious how much better the ingress and egress is, because I know that's a big thing that I think we all just kind of shock learned during that Clemson game of just like it was a weird combination of like, oh crap, we're selling out for the first time in a decade. Oh, and it's a noon game, which means everyone showed up to campus, or the large majority of people going to that game showed up very, very soon before the game started because it was a noon kick. And there was just a big backlog of people trying to get in the stadium, and so obviously that got better throughout the year, but.
And obviously with the Fanning Center now open and 2 gates now open again, that helps out a lot.
Yeah, so I'll be really curious just what people say about that their experience going into the stadium. Of course, starting with 2 night games helps, so like that shouldn't be as crazy. And then
I would argue the opposite, Jack.
You're going to be on campus.
Night games are worse. Who's going to show up before 6 o'clock? Like if you got work somewhere, you're not going to be there until 6:30.
For Colorado, you're right. I forgot about that. Yes, yeah. Tennessee will be normal. Yeah, Colorado will not be. That will be interesting. Yeah. So there you go. So but there's our first real test case.
Rush hour too.
Yeah. How old is that?
I'm already nervous about logistics for that.
I'm glad.
That's just me speaking personally.
Hey, that is an 8 o'clock kick. So that does help push back some of that problem, I guess. But yeah, we'll see. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, I encourage everyone to read this for themselves. And there's enough localization of improvements around the stadium and places on campus to where you can kind of identify like, hey, this is a thing that actually will apply to me on my game day, which I think is a nice thing that they did with how specific they were for each improvement.
I will say my favorite of this is having live video from the wreck during the ride out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's something that we have had like as a club. Like there is a GoPro that the driver usually straps onto the front dash of the wreck just to record it for themselves. But it's cool to have that now facing out, and you can watch that from the team entrance or on the jumbotron during the team entrance.
Shoot, I'd like a backwards pointing one to see the team like getting fired out too.
They do stick one back there just for
Boom.
Yeah. I think I don't know if how easy it would be, but to actually just have that be like, you know how like during I don't know if you how SNL appealed y'all are, but like they'll broadcast the opening monologue on Facebook Live and then
Mhm.
turn out but there and then just cut off the stream there, but kind of do that like just have a live feed of the rec right out for those 3 minutes like on Twitter streaming or whatever like whatever kind of social media, and then you get some other people watching that aren't
Yeah.
that does because that doesn't go on TV usually, so at least gives
I mean,
people a way to
yeah,
see it.
it's has to be done via the internet. Like you are already broadcasting that to somewhere in the stadium so that it can go on the jumbotron wirelessly. So why not render that video on the web
Yeah.
from whatever you're broadcasting it to the jumbotron from? I don't see. Like I think that's your sixth. That your sixth improvement right there for game day.
We keep doing it. Look at us.
106. We're doing great. I think that's about it for the 100 improvements. Again, that is from a partnership with two of Georgia Tech's colleges, the Industrial Systems Engineering School and the Scheller College of Business. It is, and I think I said this when we talked to the athletic director as well. It is nice to see athletics working together with other entities on campus to
Yeah.
deliver these kinds of improvements.
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty cool. And obviously, all of this is one enabled by the Fanning Center being open. A lot of these are enabled by the Fanning Center being open, honestly, including Yellow Jacket Alley returning to its well, not necessarily its traditional location, but adjacent to its traditional location. Um, and then obviously those gates being open back up at Callaway Plaza, and Callaway Plaza itself being extant again. So
Yeah.
very nice. Anything else, gentlemen, around the flats? Any other news, notes,
We've got
tidbits?
we've got a recruit and two schedules. The first is this recruit guy named DeShawn Dillon. He is out from Mississippi, but he is a two-sport athlete as of now. He was recruited by both Scott Cross and Brent Key for their respective sports. And as of now, I mean, he won't be on campus till next year, but it seems like he could play both sports if he really wanted to. There is some overlap in the basketball and football season, so who the hell knows how that's actually going to go when the time actually comes to cross that bridge. But he's one of the most highly rated shooting guards out in Mississippi, and then was one of the better wide receivers as well in the state. So on the national rank, he's like in the hundreds and whatnot. But still, it is a two sport athlete and not our usual two sport athlete of the past, which has been one of our wide receivers just running track during the spring because you can just run it. That's just an easy thing to do. So, or one of our walk on quarterbacks going and playing on the golf team in an emergency situation, as happened a couple of years ago. So, who knows if this actually happens? But for what it's worth, we've got a guy who can shoot and a guy who can catch. So, that's nice.
Pretty good. I it's fascinating, especially given how highly ranked the state of Mississippi he was. Like, it's fascinating to me that he is here.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean,
this does not usually happen.
No, both Ole Miss and Mississippi State wanted him, so like it's a big get, and I mean, I'll be very. I mean, obviously, if you bring him here, like you want to find a way to maximize what he can do. So it's a very interesting puzzle because if you make a good, if so let's say best case scenario, we make a deeper run in football next year. He's not like, let's just say he's not available, quote unquote, for basketball until like into ACC play, and
Mhm.
that probably isn't going to go that way. Don't think that's a great solution necessarily. So you have a weird schedule problem there, but maybe he can play one basketball game a week and and then a football game. I don't know. Well, it's not a thing we're really used to seeing, so we'll see.
I have one, mostly a joke. Do you think because he was recruited for both basketball and football, he gets a double the NIL money? Does he double dip?
Uh, well, I don't think it's apportioned out that way, but I could see why you would.
Boo.
Hey, I agree in the sentiment that Juan Soto should have only been paid half of what Shohei Ohtani got, though. So
I agree in the sense that Kawhi Leonard should only have made his salary and not his Daktronic sponsorship money.
yes. We've also got the basketball non-con schedule is out now as well. And compared to last year, it's uh, a tad bit stronger, a tad. We do have our neutral sites are against Murray State out of Nashville, whether we play Florida and Butler. So that's at least some bigger games. Our SEC opponent is Mississippi State this go around in the SEC ACC Challenge, but our Just standard non-con home slate includes Hampton, Georgia Southern, Eastern Kentucky, UNC Asheville, Norfolk State, UGA, Samford, Alcorn State, the Citadel, and Longwood. So I remember I was talking about last year's non-con being aggressively uninteresting. This feels a tad more interesting. We at least get the Georgia game at home, so that'll be a nice crowd. But like, it's still these neutral site games are going to be kind of the more like, okay, what's really going on here kind of games for us once we get there in December.
Florida Butler in the same week, like would have hit in like 2010.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
think about those two teams, Billy Donovan and Brad Stevens, uh,
man, yeah,
coaching at both those schools in like 2010. That would have hit.
seriously, yeah,
We would have also gotten smoked, but it would have hit. It would have been cool.
yeah, yeah, that would have been fun. And then the hockey team has their full schedule is out now, and as they mentioned on our at least they came on our pod last year, but they are fully in the ACC now, at least for ACC hockey. They play Tennessee here the night before the football team plays here, so you can go to the Ice Forum and see them out in Duluth in hockey, and then see them in football here. They play Alabama Huntsville, St. Thomas. They go to Bama, host Georgia Southern, hosts Charlotte. There's an ACC tournament in November. They'll do a home and road with Clemson. They have the Savannah tournament as well as always. They'll play ECU twice, Liberty twice, FSU twice, and then the playoffs are in mid-February, around when the Super Bowl is. So, little list of stuff. And then they should have the games viewable on YouTube as well, which is great as well. So, always worth. Those games are always fun. That's sometimes the wreck actually drives on the ice, which is really cool for a road-based vehicle, not an ice-based vehicle. But no, gonna be hopefully a good year for them. We'll dip in more and see how well they're gonna be when it comes to them. Also, it's a great way to get cheap beer. Always a great way to get cheap beers at these games.
I'm shocked that the ACC has not hit them with a trademark violation because this is just the ACC logo with a hockey stick on it. This is
Great logo.
incredible.
It's a great
It's
logo.
a great logo, but man, that's kind of shocking to me. I guess it's because they're technically a nonprofit, so
That probably, yeah.
that probably helps. Anything else, gents? Any other news and notes?
It was a long one, but we did it.
Back to yard work for me.
Back to grinding on GameOnPaper.com for me. A lot of stuff to do.
Well, that's my first plug, so check that one off. But yeah, Akshay is going to go grind on Game on Paper, so hopefully it's all eyes on that in the coming weeks as football season ramps up. GameOnPaper.com. You find us at FromTheRumbleSeat.com. You can email us from TheRumbleSeat@gmail.com. We're probably locked into our regular content until very much later in the year, but you can try. Let us know your feedback and your thoughts there too at FromTheRumbleSeat@gmail.com. You can find us on Blue Sky. I'm over there. Jack's over there. Section 103 is on Instagram at Section 103 and is at Section103.com. Use our code FTRS. Remember that. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at From the Rumble Seat, and this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Till we speak again, good night, good luck. Go Jackets.